Good evening. Welcome to the March 12th City Council meeting. We have a couple of special guests who are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you will come to the podium, both of you, Archer and Kiriana, and if everybody else would join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Archer and Kiriana, you guys can stay right up here. And I want to know a little bit about you. Kiriana, where do you go to school?
Will Rogers,
And what grade are you in?
5th grade.
And Archer, how about you? Where do you go to school?
Highland Park,
And what grade are you in?
1st grade.
First grade and 5th grade. Okay, and you have on these really cool t-shirts, and what do those t-shirts say?
Stillwater Shockers.
And what are Stillwater Shockers?
A swim team.
Your swim team. Okay, and so tell us a little bit about what's your favorite thing to do on the swim team?
I like to do the 100 IMs.
Very good.
I like the 50 breaststroke.
Okay, I thought you were going to say I like to win, but okay. I know you like that. Counselors, do you have any questions?
I'm just impressed that you can swim without holding your nose, because I have not mastered that yet, so congratulations.
Archer, are you faster than your mom yet?
No.
You'll get there.
Any other questions? Okay, I have a little gift for you. I really need my reading glasses. And you have to take a picture too. Hope the camera's on your face. There you go, there you go. Thank you, Angela. Whenever you did a great job. Yeah, you did a great job. Awesome. All right, turn around this way. Thank you. Okay, next we have a proclamation. And in poor planning, I didn't bring my reading glasses down here, so. The city manager will give me his. All right. Okay. Whereas James Madison, the father of our federal Constitution, wrote the consent of the governed requires that the people be able to arm themselves with the power which knowledge gives. And whereas every citizen in our participatory democracy has an inherent right to access to government meetings and public records. And whereas an open and accessible government is vital to establishing and maintaining the people's trust and confidence in their government and in the government's ability to effectively serve its citizens. And whereas the protection of every person's right to access to public records and government meetings is a priority of the Stillwater City Council. And whereas the Stillwater City Council is committed to openness and transparency in all aspects of its operations and seeks to set a high standard in this regard. Whereas the Stillwater City Council commits during this Sunshine Week, commemorating the anniversary of James Madison's birth, and throughout the year to work diligently to enhance the public's access to government records and information, to increase information provided electronically and online, and to ensure that all meetings of deliberative bodies under its jurisdiction are fully noticed and open to the public. Now, therefore, I, Gina Noble, Mayor of the City of Stillwater, do hereby proclaim the week of March 11th through March 17th, 2018 in the City of Stillwater as Sunshine Week Open Government. And I believe we have the League of Women Voters here, and I should have called you up before. Come up here. Who would like to speak?
Thank you. Each of the counselors has a pledge of renewal for open meetings and open records, and we will take those with us this evening and send them to the Freedom of Information, and when they will appear on the FOI Oklahoma website. So we thank you very much. We like to renew this. The League of Women Voters likes to renew this each year to remind everyone, including the citizens, about open meetings and open records. Thank you very much.
Do they have a budget ceremony?
I believe they do. It's mine. Not that I need it. I'm even giving you mine. I'm only good for mine.
We can, yeah, we're going to, we can do this, and we'll make sure we get, did we get yours, so I'll make sure we get yours. Where's mine?
I didn't get one.
He's,
Gotta watch this man.
we keep him in close. Doesn't work. On lawyers.
All right, and I do believe we are going to recognize, is Shane McFarland here?
It's Shane Harlan, actually, director of the Stillwater YMCA, and Pat Kennedy, the president of the local advisory board. I'd like to invite them to come to the podium and speak to us about the renovations at the YMCA here in Stillwater and introduce, I think, a few members of their team.
Well, thank you for this invitation to come forward tonight. It's been an exciting 18 months at the YMCA, and I hope everyone on the council has had an opportunity to come down and visit the YMCA and see the changes at the Y. Virtually every public-facing room in the YMCA has been updated. From the swimming pool to the gymnasium to the downstairs locker rooms to the heating and air conditioning. So it's a wonderful change that's been made. Last January, we joined forces with the YMCAs of Greater Oklahoma City, and in the spirit of the YMCAs, they so graciously have provided the funds for the refreshment of the local Y. I simply also would like to note that the YMCA in Stillwater has a long history. I think I went back and looked at the records that I have, and I think there's at least 58 years of YMCA history here. And I've lived in Stillwater off and on, but really since 1984, and I cannot imagine our city without a YMCA. So, simply I would say tonight that I think over the last 12 months, last 18 months, that we've done much to ensure, and we're optimistic that we are ensuring the future of the Y in this city for the next 50 years. So I need to introduce some of the folks who really made this possible. Lincoln is a staff member at the YMCA. Raise your hand. He's our program manager. John Dickey is a member of our current council. He's been a longtime member of the board of directors and now of the Stillwater Council. John's very helpful. Our executive director of the Stillwater YMCA is Shane Harlan. Shane, I might mention, started his YMCA career at this Y as a student at Oklahoma State University. He interned there, and now he's coming back to us.
A couple years ago.
We won't go into the dates. I need to introduce some of the folks from Oklahoma City. Kelly Kay, the current stand up, Kelly. Kelly Kay is an executive director of the YMCAs of Greater Oklahoma City. Kelly actually spent several years in his youth here in Stillwater, so he's very familiar with our community. The Lonnie Courtright, stand up, Lonnie. Lonnie is the director of facilities for the Oklahoma City Ys and all their 18 different branches, of which we're one now. And Lonnie and his crew were working in the pool area last summer when it was 104 degrees outside. So, Lonnie, we really thank you for your contribution for the Y Now. And then I want to introduce, the last person I'm going to introduce was really instrumental in helping join forces between our Y and the Ys of Oklahoma City, a native son of Stillwater, David Houston. David, you come up here, please. Yeah, David was involved from the very initial conversations between Stillwater and Oklahoma City, and without his support, we wouldn't be where we are today. So, David, I'm going to let you wrap up.
Thank you. Thank you. When I was first asked to serve on the YMCA board of Greater Oklahoma City, I thought it was the North Side Y on Pennsylvania. I didn't realize it was a $30 million budget and had 18 campuses. And last year we provide scholarships for 30,000 people that didn't have access to the Y, and just a great, great enterprise. And when we were offered the opportunity to partner with the YMCA in Stillwater, we appointed a committee. I'm chairman-elect of the Oklahoma City Y, and we had Jennifer Grigsby, who's an OSU grad, was a Diamond Doll under Gary Ward years ago, and Randy Thurman. The three of us were the committee, and Pat and a couple of people here were the committee, and we worked behind closed doors for some time because we were trying to determine, is this something that we really wanted to do? Could we do? Could we make a difference? Could Stillwater support a Y? Or did the University Colvin Center already provide that role and the Y couldn't be successful? And after spending quite a few months behind the doors and talking to a lot of people in town, we could tell that Stillwater was really ripe for an enhancement in the YMCA activities. And so it's been our honor and privilege to participate in this, and we really are excited about what's already been done. We're excited about Shane coming in. Mike Grady was Kelly's predecessor, was 25 years as the CEO of the YMCA at Greater Oklahoma City. He was your interim here, so you had one of the top Y execs in the country here 2 or 3 days a week for about a year. And some of you all would have met Mike as he kind of laid the groundwork, and he retired this past year. But so we're excited to be a part of Stillwater and to really bring Christian activities from youth all the way to senior adults and think that we can make a difference. Our objective is to ultimately build a new facility and someplace where you have more parking and you have better accessibility. In most of our campuses, we need 300 parking spaces. And if any of you have seen Mitch Park in Edmond, that's one of our recent deals. That was a $30 million project that was joint with the city, the school, and the YMCA, and we run that. We run the Pacer Fitness Center for Integris Hospital. So we do a lot of things that people wouldn't think a YMCA would do. So we've already met with the hospital. We've met with several people here in town and think we've got some enthusiasm. You had a campaign that was, I think, more successful than you've ever had at raising funds, and certainly want you to go by and see what the Y is now, and it's just hopefully it's just the beginning of something that really be an important part of Stillwater. So we thank you for letting us come in here and partner with Stillwater. I remember the Y when it was a frame house, white frame house on Duck Street, and I think that was pre-dirt. And my sisters got to move back to Stillwater. I was asked to leave and don't ever come back. So we're excited about that. We're excited to work with Pat and Steve Brown and all the wonderful people that you've had at the Y, and we look forward to working with Shane. So if you all ever have any questions or thoughts that you think the Y could consider or ought to consider, don't hesitate to contact any of us because we want to make this successful for the entire community. So be glad to answer any questions if anybody has any. But thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And finally, Councilor Zanotti is going to speak a little bit about the Citizens Academy.
I have the honor to introduce Kyle Gibbs as a class member 2 of the Citizens Academy. We are going to celebrate tonight class 3, finishing up their round, and I'll turn it over to Kyle Gibbs.
Thank you very much. Me and my fellow SPD members are here this evening to congratulate and recognize class 3. If you are a member of class 3 of the Stillwater Police Academy, would you stand up or wave your hand if you're already standing. Come on, there's 20 of you. You know who you are. This was our biggest class so far. There were 20 members, and they completed our academy on March 3rd. They spent one evening a week for 5 weeks learning about a gamut of topics like police and media relations, use of force, the types of criminal investigations that we deal with here in Stillwater as a department, and even the necessity for and budgetary savings of buying used military equipment. The Academy wraps up with an all-day Saturday scenario day where the participants are placed in several decision-making scenarios, just like if they were a police officer. And each of those scenarios are situations that we have dealt with in our own experiences here at Stillwater PD. We didn't make them up or pull them out of the air. Our overall goal for this academy is two things. One, to educate and show the participants why we do the things we do. And number two was to forge personal relationship with members of the community that we serve. And the only real strict rule that we had is that they had to ask any question that came to mind. We would then make the decision whether or not to answer it, but we wanted them to ask the question. Anyway, we appreciate you all for taking the time to invest every Thursday evening for a month, as well as all day Saturday with us, and we are blessed to have gotten to know you better. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much.
And I think are there plans for the next one? Is there going to be a class 4?
Well, there will be a next one.
Okay, good deal.
Now, the exact dates.
To be decided.
To be decided.
To be decided. Well, I think before you guys leave, I think there is a class member, Rebecca Eastham from Class 3, that would like to come up and do a short presentation.
Thank you, counselors, for giving us a moment to just say a few words. What an amazing experience we all had. So on behalf of all of Class 3, this was an incredible experience. I know you heard the different topics we had, but I will tell you we walked away not only with great information, but while we walked in with respect, I think we walked away with more respect, an admiration for the men and women that are out there every day providing public safety and law enforcement in our community. And it's just incredible to see the level of character that these men and women have, the impeccable training that they have, some of the best in the state, that we can hold our head high as a community, the wonderful resources that they work with every day, the creativity that they make those resources last. And also the collaboration that we see with the County Sheriff's Office, with OSU. It's wonderful, and all of that provides such incredible safety and just makes Stillwater a great place to live because of these men and women. And it was just life-changing, I know, for me on many accounts. We all walked away with just an incredible experience, and we want to make sure that this program continues. And we know that it takes resources to do that. And so Class 3 would like to present the Community Outreach Program of Stillwater PD a $2,000 check to help support another class to go through. And I encourage anybody in the public, when these applications come out, please take time to go through. So Captain Gibbs, we'd like to present this to you. Thank you, sir, very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you all very much for this.
Do you all want to take one big picture?
If you have time for it.
I think you deserve a picture.
We've been through this twice, and we should be better at it.
I know.
Be a little harder to duck this one. That's what I was thinking.
Now I'm almost as tall as Danny.
There we go. Now we're blocked.
That's right. Good to see us.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
No. That's true, yeah, absolutely.
I need 2 or 3 minutes after, if you have 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay. That moves us to the consent docket. Counselors, does anyone wish to make a motion, or do you need more clarification on anything?
Motion to accept the consent docket?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. And with a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved. That takes us to public comment on agenda items not scheduled for public hearing. I would like to remind the audience of the rules for public comments. Speakers are limited to speaking about a specific item on the agenda. Only those who are signed up to speak will be allowed. Each speaker has 3 minutes. And when you come to the podium, please state your name and your address. And we have 2 speakers, Elaine Cartwright.
My name's Elaine Courtwright. I live at 2208 West 11th. I'll talk fast so I can get my 3 minutes said. I'm talking about Ordinance 3397. I'm well aware this issue is now a dead horse. I just want to call it what it is, spot zoning, which you are signing off on in Ordinance 3397 allows for a PUD consisting of 1 CS and 5 O buildings with a driveway that cuts through the property from 12th to 11th. The renderings of buildings presented to you were attractive, but they look nothing like the engineer's PUD plan you will sign your approval on. It is, I believe, the start of commercialization along 12th and probably gentrification in the area. It has nothing to do with neighborhood vitalization and has no concern for preservation. The Planning Commission didn't want a split lot, but it is split. The neighbors on record wanted at least some residential. There is none. I see the city creating the future need for preventable infrastructure expenses such as crosswalks, traffic signals, and new arteries for crosstown traffic. It encounters many of the stated objectives outlined in the 2006-2007 Strategic Vision Statement, Stillwater Transportation Enhancement Plan, and the C3 Comprehensive Plan. Especially frustrating to me is the irony that advocates for this project had the opportunity to create mixed-use purposes when they developed and built the properties they themselves live in. The city in past years has approved much new construction. It has had the opportunity to encourage mixed-use development in the plans presented. What I have observed are shopping centers and commercial developments adjacent to roadways. They abut residential areas or other commercial properties. They do not combine mixed uses. I have also observed many large apartment developments offering amenities, however, and I may be wrong, no commercial space within the development. Recent housing developments have contained only housing. I have not observed an attempt to encourage mixed use in any of these newer developments, only an effort to make sure the proposed plans meet existing building codes. A mixed-use development and a mixed-use overlay are 2 completely different things. My understanding of a mixed-use development is a well-thought-out and laid-out cohesive plan. It is not taking an existing neighborhood and breaking it up for financial gain. I feel I have been branded as resistant to change. I am not. I would love to see some real planning. I would like to see the counselors, not saying I could do any better, reach more proactive instead of reactive decisions in the future. My hope is that the city will reflect on my thoughts and not continue to repeat history. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cartwright. Our other speaker is Shirley Weeks.
Good evening. I'm Shirley Weeks. I live at 71 University Circle. I'm here to speak about Ordinance 3397. Sometimes the feelings of betrayal are not easy to lay down and move on. The feelings of betrayal of a government process is no different. The 1220 Street property and zoning has been a complicated process. The outcome was the City Council recommended the development of a 12th Street overlay to protect and preserve the neighborhood. Development Service and committed citizens worked hard to develop the overlay. Planning Commission, City Council adopted the overlay requirements. The confused, undefined boundary process has delayed the overlay, and the 12th Street PUD being adopted before the overlay process has been completed. I request the council to direct renewed focus and support on the overlay and the boundary process. Too much time, money, and citizen involvement has been invested in the 12th Street overlay for a confused, undefined boundary process to defeat the overlay. We should work together, Development Service, the Planning Commission, the City Council, and citizens to get the overlay boundary process organized and completed so the original purpose of the overlay can be fulfilled. I want to thank the council for acknowledging the value of the neighborhood and moving us toward the overlay process. I want to thank the outstanding working group in the 12th Street area and their unrelenting efforts to learn and grow and develop quality planning skills. Thank you for listening, and please vote on the second reading of the PUD. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Weeks. Okay, that moves us to public hearings. And on item A, receive public comment regarding a request for closing of a utility easement at 1124 West McElroy and 810 and 713 North Lincoln, CC-18-19. Mr. Dorman, did we have good notice on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. McNichol.
And Lance Gross of Development Services will have that report.
Yes, good evening. Lance Gross with Development Services. The easement closing request before you is located at 813 North Lincoln Street and 1124 West McElroy Road. The applicant wishes to close the utility easement running east and west on the property, allowing them to develop the site and build over the easement location. The red boundary indicates the easement location. There are no utilities within the easement. The applicant will be required to submit full plans for a building permit, including stormwater control plans. The site will be the future home of the Baptist Student Union. And you'll probably remember from last week, the site over here came before you for a rezoning, which the intent is to use this as a parking lot for the new Baptist Student Union. This is a street view looking from Lincoln. It's looking to the northeast. The location of the easement is approximately halfway. It's basically right in front of the vehicles. And be happy to try to answer any questions.
Councilors, questions? Okay, at this time, I will open the public hearing, and we have one speaker, Stephen Gose.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. Stephen Gose, Gose & Associates, 113 East 8th. Just here to answer any questions. Lance covered it. It's a 5-foot easement that was dedicated on the plat, originally 2.5 feet on each lot. There's no utilities in it, so just trying to clean it up so we can build the building. So, any questions?
Councilors? No. All right, thank you, Mr. Gose. Okay, I will close the public hearing and ask for the recommendation.
Staff recommends approval of the request.
Okay, councilors, any questions at this time? Or is there a motion?
Motion to approve staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on staff recommendation, CC-18-19. Please vote. And with a vote of 5-0, CC-18-19 is approved. Item B has been postponed to April 2nd. Do we need to
We need
vote?
on that since
Okay.
we're moving today.
Motion to postpone item B to April 2nd.
Second.
We have a motion. Does that mean 2018?
It does.
Yes.
Yes, okay. We have a motion and a second to postpone to April 2nd, 2018. Please vote. And with a vote of 5-0, item B has been postponed until April 2nd. We have one more item on the agenda, item C, text amendment, form-based code, public realm improvement requirements, triggers and exemptions, CC-18-21. Mr. Dorman, did we have good notice on this?
Yes, and just for the record, it's under general orders, but it was a public hearing item. We've done all the appropriate notification as a public hearing. And just when we bring it up for second hearing, I will probably go ahead and put it back on again for public hearing, just to make sure that anyone who might have confused it has an opportunity. So, but it's good for tonight.
Okay. Mr. McNichol.
Paula Dennison, our Director of Development Services, will provide that report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much. We came before you back in December, if you recall, and had a discussion about some of the hindrances for the smaller, maybe a little extension of a redevelopment opportunities to occur in the form-based code area. When form-based codes were adopted, there was a requirement that the developer, under any situation and circumstances, is responsible for making improvements to the public realm, which is the part of the area adjacent to their property that's within the right-of-way. And it's streets, it's parking, it's landscaping, sidewalks, it could be other amenities that are identified in the code. In working through the form-based code adoption, it has been brought to our attention, and we had seen it a couple of times, that this was being seen more as a hindrance to redevelopment in that area or an obstacle. So what staff gathered from y'all's direction and the discussion back in December, we got together and discussed amongst ourselves and took it to the Planning Commission some ideas that we had for how to remedy this, how to lessen that obstruction, if you will. And you have on the agenda tonight an ordinance that does specifically call out what does trigger the form-based code public realm requirements, but then also a complement to that, what are exemptions that you can expect based on what you're wanting to do with your developments. And what this does is it does address, we feel like it truly addresses and starts looking forward to more redevelopment in the area for those properties that might have had their hands a little tied under the current regulations as they are. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Counselors, any questions? Okay, at this time, I will open, I'm sorry.
Just a couple, sorry.
Thank you.
Did we, do you have a sense of how many, how often would this, say adding 10% to a commercial structure or adding 20% to a multifamily structure, do we have a sense of how often that's happening in this area, that would, these structures would then fall under this new code?
Currently in this area, since form-based code has been adopted, not many at all, primarily because of that financial obligation, that they would have to bring up everything in front of them also.
I know there's a couple projects that have been discussed in the area at different stages. Would these amendments address those projects that are pending or have been at least sort of proposed at this point?
Once not started, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I'm, if I may, add on to that. Two in particular. One, we actually had a written request to consider some changes, because they were wanting to purchase a single-family home and upgrade it to a duplex structure. That would have required full public realm improvements. That will be one of the exemptions, and it was actually discussed during staff's evaluation of sidewalk requirements and the landscaping, and this citizen is more than happy to comply with the sidewalk requirements and the landscaping. It was the street itself and the parking and those additionals that was going to prohibit. The other is an actual change of use, taking two properties that are residentially used now, and converting them to a commercial use. Because of the square footage of the land area that would be total in those two properties, they also would be exempt, except for the sidewalk and the landscaping requirements and the 4th Avenue frontage that they have that would be a part of that pedestrian corridor.
Okay. And then one final question about Section D there at the end about the development occurring on a street that's been reconstructed or requires others to reconstruct within 10 years. My concern with the way that's worded is what we talked about last meeting with the city potentially going through and finishing both sides of the street where those apartments are being done now. One of the things we talked about was whether if redevelopment happens then on the other side of that street, would those folks be required to help offset the cost that the city has already put into the street that now they don't have to redevelop. And to me, this would, if we do that full width of that street now, because we don't want to just have half a street done, then somebody comes and builds a new apartment building on the other side of it, they're going to be able to not have to pay for any of the costs of redeveloping the second half of that street, which is something that I would personally like to see us try to recover if a second developer comes on the other side of the street, because now they're getting the free benefit of not having to pay those costs. So I wonder if that language, to me, it seems like it might keep us from being able to recover costs from people in the future that we want to recover costs from.
And I will take guidance on those that would be desired to participate in some cost recovery. The last example I used in what this amendment could aid in them developing, changing those two residential lots to a commercial, that property, one of those properties is along 4th Avenue and will benefit from the way this is written. They will not have to do anything, and this is
and they'd be exempted from it because
actual street, yes.
Yeah, because of the size of the lots.
Yeah. Correct.
Not just because the street had already been done. So I guess that's my concern, is that if on the other side of like Husband or whichever street that is, there was another big apartment or a much larger 3 or 4 lots that go together for a commercial, that they would be exempt because the street's already been done. And we would prefer that those larger developments still have to pay those costs.
Some
because,
cost recovery.
The apartments being built now are paying for that half street to be done, and we would want those large projects, I think, to also have to do that. So I don't know if we need that as a separate exemption, right? I mean, if the building's small enough, if the redevelopment project is small enough, then they're not going to have to pay for the street reconstruction anyway. And if it has already been redone, I guess to form-based code standards, then we would want larger developments to have to reimburse whoever did, especially if it was the city that did those second half of the street repairs.
I agree. I had the same question.
What I can do, if you allow us to, is I can get with Monty in Transportation and Stormwater, and we can discuss this specifically and see if he has any language that he would be comfortable with adding into this, because I know at the last meeting, he had discussed the city going ahead and finishing out the full right-of-way on 4th and Hester, and that he was anticipating cost recovery as others develop along there. So let me get with him, and we'll come back with some language for that question specifically.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Okay, so I will open the public hearing. There's nobody signed up. I will close the public hearing and ask for the recommendation.
Okay, staff, until tonight, staff did recommend that you pass the first ordinance reading on to second reading. But if we can put that on hold when you get to it, and then we can come back with some language to clarify this item D below.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. That takes us to resolutions. Resolution number CC 2018-2, a resolution of the Stillwater City Council accepting beneficial interest in the declaration of trust dated March 12, 2018. That is Stillwater Block 34 Trust for the use and benefit of the city of Stillwater, Oklahoma.
This is the document that would allow the council to actually accept the beneficial interest and to establish the Block 34 Trust. Logistically, what would happen is if you approve this resolution tonight, we would circulate the trust document, and then once it's signed by all of the trustees, then we would bring it to you, Mayor, and ask for your signature, and then at that point, it's filed with the county clerk's office and with the Secretary of State, and when it's on file with the Secretary of State, the trust will become effective.
Okay. Any questions?
Once this resolution passes, are we still able to edit the specifics of the trust indenture before it gets before it's approved?
No, if you want to make some more changes to the trust, we probably need to
do it before
then. I don't know if you've seen the latest version. I sent it out, I think, Friday with the packet. We did make a few additional edits in there. One took out the disability for elected officials and removed, since we're not putting any property in the trust, we removed a section in there that was specifically said that referenced a trust corpus. And then I think there was another reference or two to bond financing that also came out of there. But if there's some other things that you want to take a look at, we can certainly wait. I mean,
I don't know that there is. I don't think there is. I mean, it's very broad in terms of what the ability of the trust is to do, in the sense of, I mean, my thoughts, and this just came up today, was around, if Block 34 was to integrate, say something along our walking trails, or we wanted to bring other things in to connect with it, whether the trust could also cover those sorts of things. But I would assume that anything that relates to Block 34 we could do within the same trust, right? Without
probably, it's fairly broad, but at the same time, it's fairly narrow. And the idea was to make the trust easy to amend so that when the trustees and the council thought that there was a need to broaden the scope of the trust, its authority, then we would be able to do that fairly efficiently.
That's fine. That's fine then. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to adopt resolution number CC 2018-2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Please vote. And with a vote of 5-0, resolution CC-2018-2 is approved. Item B, resolution number CC 2018-3, a resolution establishing an administrative process and fee for the issuance of a certificate of compliance for interim licensing of the sale of strong beer and wine by certain retailers in accordance with Title 37A Oklahoma statute.
This one requires a little explanation. The text has a lot of the basis for why we're doing this, but as you'll recall, State Question 792 passed back in 2016, which significantly reformed alcohol laws in Oklahoma. And it has taken, there was a 2-year lag period basically just to allow implementation to occur. And the ABLE has been working pretty much since day one to make this thing happen, and they are now at a point where they are issuing interim licenses for stores that will be selling strong beer and wine. And so if you think about how many grocery stores we have in town, convenience stores, even the liquor stores, which will now be able to have refrigeration in their facilities, all of these required the issuance of interim licensing so that they begin doing things like installing coolers and starting to stock wine and stuff. And so if you look at our existing ordinances, we don't actually have a process for this. And we were waiting on the state to kind of tell us where we were going to end up before we started reforming the ordinances. So we took a look at this and we determined that since this was just an aid in licensing, the state is doing the licensing, the city is not. But what they needed from us was the ability to get letters from the city saying, yes, this place is in compliance with zoning laws, it's in compliance with the building codes, which is akin to what we do now. And then the state does the rest of the licensing. So to enable this, we needed a process. And so that's why this resolution here is to authorize Norman to create the process and then secondarily to set a fee for it, because there's a cost to do this. And so that's why that is here. And we recommended a resolution in this instance because of an ordinance, because quite frankly, there's 12 bills sitting in the legislature right now that will amend Title 37A before it ever becomes effective in October. So we don't know exactly what the laws are going to look like until the legislature recesses in May. And when that happens, then we will start bringing you an amended alcohol code, which will look very different than the one that we have right now. But to make a long story short, we need this so that we can help Able get these licensees in place, and so that these stores can start stocking things. And I will just tell you that when you walk to Walmart here in about 2 months and there are big stacks of wine there that you cannot buy, it's because you have to wait till October 1st. That's the way the statute's written. And so there will be a lot of places starting to bring in stock and to do things that it's just going to sit. It's going to look kind of strange, but eventually Oklahoma will join we'll come into the 20th century on alcohol at some point.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve resolution number CC-2018-3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on resolution CC 2018-3. Please vote. And with a vote of 5-0, the resolution is approved. I think everybody can say cheers. That brings us to ordinances. First reading, Mr. Dorman. Is this one on hold now?
So I'm assuming we're not going to read 3396 tonight. Okay. Then 3397, is that where we want to start?
Yes. On second reading, Mr. Dorman.
All right, ordinance number 3397, an ordinance approving a planned unit development and the rezoning of certain tracts of land, more particularly described in this ordinance, from small lot, single-family, residential, RSS district to commercial shopping, CS, and office O districts, and providing for severability.
Councilors, questions, comments? Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 3397. Please vote. And with a vote of 5-0, the ordinance is approved. Reports from officers and boards. City Attorney.
Nothing to report, ma'am.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm proud to announce that Stillwater has been named a self-certified healthy business 4 years in a row by the Oklahoma State Department of Health. The city encourages its employees to live a healthy and comfortable lifestyle at work and at home. Staff are encouraged to join employee Fitbit groups and to take advantage of our 24-hour access fitness facility. More about the certification can be found at the city website.
Councilor Zanotti.
I do. AARP is currently providing tax assistance at the Stillwater Public Library until Tuesday, April 17th. The service is available on Mondays and Wednesdays from 9:30 a.m. until 4 p.m. and Tuesdays from 1 to 4. And as a reminder, on your income tax form, you can pay your use tax for any online purchase where Stillwater sales tax was not collected. And if you need a resource, the city's website provides information on how to calculate and pay your use tax.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, on March 27th at 7 o'clock in this room, the League of Women Voters will host a forum with local candidates running for Stillwater City Council seat number 5, which is the mayor's seat, to give voters a chance to ask questions of the candidate for the election. The forum will be held in this room, and if you cannot attend, the event will be televised on Suddenlink Channel 14, AT&T UVerse Channel 99, and on stillwater.org. And in previous times, you've had a call-in. That's still being discussed, isn't it? Okay, well, hang on to hear information about whether you can call questions in from your home. But that's a great event, March 27th at 7 o'clock in this room.
Yes, it is. And Councilor Joyce.
The Stillwater Public Library is hosting the UCO Director of Forensic Sciences on March 8th as part of the One Book, One Community program. Dr. Dwight Adams will speak at 7 p.m. at the Stillwater Community Center on the development of law enforcement technology. Due to an anticipated large number of attendees, some One Book, One Community events have changed locations. So check the updated list at library.stillwater.org.
Councilor Wedlake.
Yes, ma'am. So more lives are lost to home fires than to all other major disasters. That's one of the reasons the Stillwater Fire Department is partnering with the American Red Cross to install free smoke alarms and home fire escape plans. The installations will take place March 31st from 10 a.m. to noon and must be made by appointment. And to schedule an installation and an appointment, contact the Stillwater American Red Cross. I don't have contact information written on here for the American Red Cross, but would imagine you can find that information readily online.
Absolutely, and what a great service. Yeah. And anytime we can save lives, it's a great thing. Anything else? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn City Council. Please vote. With the vote of 5-0, City Council is adjourned, and I will open the meeting for the Stillwater Utilities Authority. Call the meeting to order. And general orders, Mr. McNichol.
We have a report tonight from Lauren Smith, our electric distribution system.
Good evening, trustees. Lauren Smith, Electric Utility Director. I'm here tonight to bring you yet another exciting project that we had for FY18. Tonight I'm here to talk about distribution substation transformers. And just a brief overview about what is a substation distribution transformer. We have, the city is fed by 138,000 volts, and then in a transmission substation, we step that 9,000 volts. And then we get to our distribution substations where we step that voltage down one more time to 12,470 volts, which we distribute to our customers. In the early 2000s, we began rebuilding all of our distribution substations in-house. During that time, we replaced several of the distribution transformers. However, the 6 that are remaining were not at the time. So at the time, we were looking at trying to get a little more life out of them, which we have, and we believe we've reached or are getting close to that end of life. That we're discussing now involves 3 of our substations in the central part of the city. Up here where the cursor is Boomer Lake, which is out by Boomer Lake Station, or the old Boomer Lake Station, Boomer Lake. Hospital is right next to the hospital, and then Central Sub, which is about 4 blocks north of here on 3rd Street. Each of these substations houses 2 distribution substation transformers, which again provide power to the customers that are fed off of those substations. Each of these transformers were installed in 1960 or about 1975. So I like 1967 because that's when I was born. I can tell you exactly how old that is. It's about 50 years old. So parts availability is becoming slim and hard to find, and we've basically got the good out of these transformers. One of the biggest issues with these fail, there's about an 8 to 12 month lead time to get them. And so when one fails and you scramble around trying to get a bid out and get one coming, and then that it causes issues across the system. And if a couple of those failed in the peak of the summer, we would really be in dire straits. So this is a very proactive approach to keep our customers on. One thing that we hope to accomplish with this project is standardization. We have found in the past that we have 4 or 5 different manufacturers of transformers. Well, then you have to house 4 or 5 different brands of parts and controllers, and they're all different, and it causes a lot of issues. Standardization, which what we have been doing in the last several years throughout the utility, allows us to stock one part for multiple transformers and not have to have so many different components of manufacturers of parts. The sizing is a very neat thing about this project. Our current transformers in the distribution subs are approximately 20 MVA. And what is MVA? It's an electrical term. It's basically how much power you can push through the transformer and distribute to your customers. We're upgrading to a 28 MVA transformer for two reasons. For projected for the future, as well as one of the most critical things is most substations have two transformers, and they're there for redundancy, right? So if you're sitting there in the middle of the summer, peak load, and one of the transformers go down, okay, you have to push that load somewhere or pick that load up from somewhere else. And so when one fails, we scramble around, we're switching in the middle of the night, it takes time. With the upgrade of the size of the transformer, the single transformer can handle the load of the whole substation, so that alleviates that problem. So in July of 2017, we released an RFQ request for engineering firms to help us with this project. We need help designing with design and construction and procurement of the equipment. And so we released an RFQ. We got 8 responses back. The project team did a very thorough job of evaluating each engineering firm on their qualifications, and they chose Burns & McDonnell as the engineering firm of choice. The timeline for the project. We're looking at doing this project in 3 phases over 2 years. And so phase 1, we would start with Boomer Lake Station. It has a few more intricacies that need to be done there, to be done in the late spring of 2019. Phase 2 and 3 encompass in the same outage year Hospital and Central Substation, and we expect that to be completed in the late spring of 2020. The funds required to complete and the engineering services for phase 2 and 3 are available now in the rate stabilization fund. So that's where the funding for this recommendation is coming from, and the entire project. It is expected that the funds for the equipment for phase 2 and 3 will be available in the next 18 months in the rate stabilization over our budget cycle. Additional funds for the procurement of the transformers and miscellaneous equipment and the construction will be appropriated in the project account following trustee action to award the bids and authorize expenditures for each phase. So we'll be coming back to you for the bid for the transformers and the equipment and things, for more awards that will come back to you. 4, the project cost is estimated at $7.7 million. Optional pricing is being evaluated now for the site management. After staff reviewed, we felt like that the site management cost was a little excessive from Burns & McDonnell. We weight them a little deeper, but there's also other options out there to possibly use a third party or somebody else. So we're going to reevaluate those costs a little bit. The key component, the time constraint that we're under is getting the transformers ordered and getting them in for the first phase to take place on schedule. I have a recommendation here. I'd be happy to read it now, but I also know you may have questions. So I'd be happy to answer any questions before the recommendation.
Trustees, questions?
So Lauren, the part that you have a question about is for parts for the phases 2 and 3, as far as the cost and looking into what would...
No part. Yeah, and that's the construction management piece.
Okay.
And in the report, I left it as a 0 on the report, knowing that we're going to have to come back and it's either going to be Burns and Mac or somebody else that we think that may be a little more cost effective for us. Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually one question I had. Since these were left as 0 line items here, the total cost of the project will be above $7.7 million.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So what's the estimation of a site man? What does that look like?
From Burns & McDonnell, it looked like $1 million. We feel like it could be done for a lot cheaper, so that's why we need transformers so we can stay on schedule. So we kind of took it out and said, you know what, we'll look at this. This isn't imperative right now. We'll look at it further, and so
fair enough.
I think worst case. Yeah.
Okay, and just for my own edification, is that $1 million per substation?
No,
Total.
Okay. Yes.
But $1 million for the construction management could be up to
Worst case.
0.7 million.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Trustees, any more questions? May we hear a recommendation? Oh.
No, I'll hear the recommendation first.
Okay.
It might answer my question.
All right.
So the staff recommends that the trustees approve the proposed substation project authorize staff to enter into a professional service agreement with Burns & McDonnell for the engineering, design, and procurement support required for the substation transformer project upon satisfactory negotiations of the terms and conditions, and authorize expenditures up to $825,998 from the Electric Rate Stabilization Fund.
Trustees, questions?
I was just say, we're really just authorizing that first piece of it at this point.
Right.
The total project cost is still going to be up in the air anyway.
All right. If there are no more questions, is there a motion?
Motion to accept.
Second. We have a motion and a second for SUA-18-10. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, SUA-18-10 is approved.
Thanks, Lauren.
Reports from officers and boards, General Counsel,
Nothing to report, ma'am.
General Manager.
No items.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
adjourn.
Second.
Beat me to it.
Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, we are adjourned. Thank you.